Thank you.
You're just going to let it start?
I don't know. Is that okay? Can I just leave it?
There you go.
Okay.
Looks like it's only charged a little bit.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone.
I'm down.
I was in the meeting, my mind was blank. I come from a very different background, although my background is quite academic too, but for last 40 years, I have been in the process of deleting my academic vasanas and samskaras. And I am still only on the first chapter of Yoga Sutra. Second, I have started, so I am in the middle of my sadhana father. And thank you, Dr. Edwin Brand. You cracked the ice. And therefore, you already started with Ishvara. So I will start exactly from there. Although he was hesitating to unveil his own identity of worshipper of the greatest thief ever in the world, that is Krishna. And I have no hesitation to reveal his identity. Gopapadhuti Dukul Chaurare Namaha. Now both of you are sitting here. So I start exactly where you left. And therefore, and I'm not going to get into conflict of whether Patanjali is preferring Shiva or Krishna. So I'm just going with Purusha, Bhagavan Purusha. Yontah pravishya mama vachamimam prasuttam sanjeevayathyakhila shaktidhara swadhamna nyascha hastacharana Sravanatvaradin Pranam Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam. My study of the Yoga Sutra did not begin as a conscious choice. And I wish to lead you through that process, and then you can see whether or not you are in the same very place where I have been, or whether there is any human being who is not in the same very place where I was once and still am. And it is in that context I present the Yoga Sutra. The context is pain and sorrow. And the Yoga Sutra has one single focus, that is removal of sorrow. And it begins with a very well established understanding that if we can understand the mystery of our mind, then lots of the mysteries pertaining to the sorrow will be understood. And we will have greater access to that world where all the tools and means are there which we can use to overcome our sorrow. In my life, it started in a very amazing way, which I wish I pray to God, Purusha, Ishvara, Shiva, whoever, that it never happens to anyone. I was exactly 14 years old, growing up in a family that which once was one of the most prestigious, richest family, and only second to the richness of the king of North Indian Kingdom, Amarga. Family had accumulated lots of wealth over hundreds of years. And overnight everything was gone. In 1952, right before 2 years, 1 year after before I was born, this Landlord Abolishment Act was put in place. And overnight everybody lost everything. And that happened in my country too. There was vanity, there was social pressure to maintain the lifestyle which my parents had. And in the process, one by one, all the jewelries, all the archers, everything was sold. And it still people's expectations were there that were well to do. And persona, fake persona was, of course, people were carrying out. Things really became very bad. To the point that at some point, small, little things became very precious. And whereas my father was a very respected person, in his time he was scholar of Sanskrit language, Pali language, Prakrit language, Zinda Vesta, Persian, Farsi, and Arabic language. My home was living school college, where people came, including rural children came to study. And my family was supporting that school. By the time I was growing up, my parents were not able to even provide basic education because in my high school, when I was just about to go to the 9th school, there was 2 rupee fees per month. Hardly few cents. My parents couldn't afford it. In the midst of that, there was a small little piece of land left, and there was a dispute over it. And one day, when my father was not doing very well, sick, he was sick. Some of my cousins, the uncles, distant uncles, they planned to finish me up. I was the only son, and if I died soon, whatever little property was there, it will be theirs. And so this way, early in the morning, there was attack. Somehow bizarre thing was happening that they used to pick me up and throw me in a compost pit where the compost was already removed and was taken to the farmland. It was empty compost pit. That's where they used to pick me up and throw me in the compost pit. My small sisters and mother, all they could do just shout and protest. They also, by the time, these people cannot hit my mother, she fell down on the ground. And sisters, all they could do was just grab me or wrap around mother. And those people, somehow they were not really hitting me. They used to just pick me up and throw me in the compost pit and with bamboo. And they had spears and bamboo sticks. Somehow they were hitting me with the bamboo like this. And since I was deep, 4 or 5 feet deep in the compost pit, the bamboo stick was not going there. And somehow there was something was not coming to their mind. They could have very well poked me to death, but they were hitting me. Each time they threw me, and by the time there are slowly, big crowd go, 10 people, 20 people, 50 people, 70 people, whole village comes, and there was a big soul. And people are afraid of them. So people are shouting, why are you doing this? You should not have done that. By the time I climbed out, I was absolutely angry. Brimming with anger. At that time, the only thing I could think was, I can kill them. I was absolutely out of my mind. And of course, by the time I tried to reach them and hit them, my mother was crying on the ground. That was another layer of so-called reason. But by the time I could hit them, they were very strong people, and they used to pick me up, few slaps here and there, but they used to throw me from quite high. So this thing continued for many times, almost 6, 7 times. I was getting more and more angry. 6th, 7th time when they threw me, just a thought flashed. That if they really wanted to kill me, they could have killed me by this time. They have spears, they have bamboo, there are 5 of them, and they are very strong. They are known as Pahwans. All 5 brothers were Pahwan, means wrestlers. And known for their wicked, behaviors. What's going on here? And then I started, while lying quiet in the compost pit, in the floor of the compost pit, I was trying to understand what is happening to my body. I could not find a single scratch. No bones broken. I started thinking, how is it possible? I'm not yet broken into pieces. I'm still alive. What is here in this compost pit? And after that, I could not even remember. Still, I don't remember very well what happened to that compost pit. How long that stage lasted, even I don't know. maybe 30 seconds, maybe 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes. But it looked like I was there in that compost bed for ages. When I came to normal consciousness, almost normal consciousness, I had goosebumps. On one hand, I did not want to come out because I knew that once I come out of the pit, so many people are there, and my discontemplated thought and this realization which I am experiencing, it will be lost because people will again come and they will ask, how are you? Are you okay? I did not want anybody sympathy. I did not want anyone to even ask me what happened. I just wanted to be alone. Now, however, I thought if I lay down here, people might think that I'm dead or I'm not conscious. They will come and pick me up, or God knows, they might start throwing some dirt and compost on top of it to bury me here. So I climbed out. When I came out, I saw a totally different world. The eyes were commotion was getting, had come almost blinded. Most of the people are outside. And the world looked very beautiful. I could see these 4 or 5 people, still those 5 of them. I had just absolutely neutral kind of feeling. Rather, I was more interested in figuring out what did happen there. Next, there are thought. What happened to my anger, my fear? I can clearly see that there is force of protection all around me. But isn't it was before too? I was just millions of thoughts were pouring at once, which later on when I was trying to put together this puzzle, I was shocked at how is it possible to think that much in such short period of time. Is it something linear? Is it non-linear? Is it krama? Is it akrama? Now I stand before you, or now I am writing books on Yoga Sutra, teaching yoga. Now I have little bit some intellectual tools and means to think of what is krama, what is akrama, what is kutastha nityata, and what is parinami nityata, pravaha nityata. What is eternity in constance, and what is eternity in flow, in change. None of those things I knew, even the words did not exist, even though I had studied Sanskrit by that time. Even though it was required by the family that I must do certain practices as part of my daily practice, and especially in order to fulfill my duty as the oldest son of my father. And yet none of those thoughts were there in my head. I picked up my mother. I just wanted to be quiet. But I knew that there is no quiet. There is no peace at home. Mother is crying. Father is asking what is happening outside, because father did not know what was happening. Our house was very big. We had 3 courtyards. It was kind of a small little palace. So father is into the most interior part of the house. And the attendant, one of the servants, was trying to hide from my father about what was going on outside. Because he was suffering from typhoid. I came in, I took bath, and then I went to school. That was the day. A very strong thought came that this place is not for me. This is too small. People are petty. People are filled with all this anger, hatred, jealousy, greed. Tiny piece of land. Those who have 10 acres of land, their crops get ruined. And the whole year they are struggling with poverty, struggling from poverty. And this piece of land, the dispute is disputed land. It's hardly less than a quarter of an acre. How much protection can you grant? And yet, it is on account of these such little things. There is fear, there is anger, there is hatred, there is violence. This is not for me. A little verse came in my head. Yasmin Deshin Samman, Nan Ternas Vanthala, Arainian Tena Gantabyam, Yatharainian Tatharisham. I don't have friend here. I don't have family here. There is no means of a livelihood here. There is no respect. There is no recognition. There is nobody understands me or nobody understands themselves. People don't understand themselves. What's the point in living in that land? However, what will happen to my father and mother if I do? Another part comes. Same way in reality that protected me in the compost pit will take care of them. It's not the This way I went to school. My Sanskrit teacher at that time, I was studying not Vyakran. It was an Paninian Ashtadhyay Sanskrit. So professionally I'm grammarian and I'm Nayayika. I'm logician. That was my life before this episode in this compost pit. Now, my teacher saw a mixture of joy and sorrow on my face. So he asked me, so I told him. So he said, don't tell him. 2-3 days there was family was distraught by him not come back. Then they found out that I'm with my Sanskrit teacher. That is how things started. However, as time passed, hardly few hours later, a few days later, a few weeks later, it became like just a memory, just like a dream, just like a story I read. My own experience was, hardly I could feel that it was any experience. Very, very faint memories stayed there. Again, anger and revenge, all those vrittis, they came forward. But as soon as I became aware of the memory I had, the experience I had in the compost pit, it was extremely painful to realize that I'm still same angry, person. So much vasana, so much samskar, and all these little things affect me so much. What's wrong with me? That was more painful than the actual causes of anger which were provoking me. Any of the causes in the outside world, I knew that they are really quite insignificant. What is significant is my own vasana, my own samskar, which is kind of serving as a fountain, serving as a source of my own vrittis. What should I do? This way, 5 years lasted. And it became more and more intense. Meanwhile, many times I wanted to run away from my Sanskrit school. Many times I wanted to run away from my home. Thank God, I did not go all the way to suicidal tendencies, but yes, run away. And I became more and more involved into reading these stories of spiritual teachers that someone, like one of my heroes was Swami Brahmananda Saraswati, that at the age of 10 or 11, he got inspired and he started walking up the stream Ganga and he got enlightened. So these stories became more and more kind of source of inspiration to me. And the idea that these are real stories started vanishing. If they are real, that's how mind developed. 5 years later, somehow I was in a very, very dark place in my life. Super dark place. That was the time when Vairagya, so-called this non-attachment, dispassion, was, in my observation as I observe now, was really mixed with killing myself. I was disgusted. I was disgusted with my body. If I show you my toes, that was time even when my anger became so vivid. I was walking, and in those days I did not wear shoes, and in those days I did not wear stitched clothes. That was forbidden for Brahmin. I used to wear kharang, wooden sandals, and I had big choti, which Dr. Brandt still once while has it. I didn't have it. Yeah, last time if you don't have, you will be kicked out from the Sanskrit school. So walking, I tumbled and I had injury in my toe. I got so, at that time, this whole idea, this whole idea that body, here is my body, here is my mind. I did not know that I'm really experiencing that. What was happening, I got so upset on this little stupid toe that which is giving me so much pain. I picked up a rock and I crushed it. Boom! You are giving me those, and then I almost fainted. Oh God! That much anger. I let it out on my own toe, and still it's more than 40, almost 38 years, 40 years have gone by. That toe has not recovered, and that nail has not grown. And other two toes around next to it, they are not that badly damaged, but my second toe is extremely gone. That was anger. Anger on who? I was not even able to pinpoint it. No. It was sheer vasana. And I would say it was not just vasana. It was Shakti Mantro Vastita. Vasana. Sutra 2-3 Vyasas commentating. It just literally it has turned into a compact Shakti Mantro, sheer energy of anger vasana. On what? For who? For what reason? Those were totally irrelevant. When that kind of vasana is there, you are bound to create the causes in outside world. That's how this Pratyaya Sarga is all about. Pratyaya Sarga is all about. It is in that context I studied the Yoga Sutra. How? I met a Swami, Sadananda. I put my problem before him. He told me, although he told me to do Gayatri practice, which I did, it was chaos, total, absolute disappointment. He gave me all expectations that in 11 months' time this will happen, that will happen, that will happen. I was excited as I kept nearing the completion. Nothing happened. So I told him, and that's when he told me that the experience he had in the compost pit was very, very profound experience. It was God's grace. The divinity came to you in a full brilliance. And yet, you were such an unlucky fellow that you could not see it. Why? Is there the curse? What is that curse on you? What is a Brahmin? You have your unique concept of God. Just because that reality, that divinity did not have 3 eyes, was not riding a bull, was not riding a tiger, did not have a long trunk, you just ignored it. Go back and meditate on the lotus of the heart. And that's what he pulled out the Yoga Sutra. Showed the Yoga Sutra, chapter 1, Sutra 36. And he interpreted very small sutra, Vishoka Jyotishmati. While following the rules of sutra style writing, then you get certain appropriate portions from the Sutra 35, add it to it, and thus, and Vyasa has done it. So what does it read? How does it read? It reads, Hridaya Pundarike Dharaito Vishoka va Jyotishmati Pravritti Utpanna Manasa Sthiti Nipati. So Vishoka va Jyotishmati is read Hridaya Pundarike Dharaito Vishoka va Jyotishmati Pravritti Utpanna Manasa Sthiti Nipati. By meditating on the lotus of the heart, there arises a unique pravritti. Something from deep inside it just develops. What is that? Vishoka, a state of joy, which is no longer linked by any form of sorrow. And Jyotishmati, pure inner luminosity. And that is so captivating that automatically your mind gets fixed on it. Before that, as this discussion is going on, Dr. Brian here that yes, there is Abhyasa Vairagya Bhyamtam Nirodha. Ultimately, what we are trying to do with the sutra is that learn the techniques so that we can attain mastery over the roaming tendencies of our mind. Question is how Abhyasa Vairagya Bhyam. Just focus your mind on that. That on what? And other bizarre thing is Purvatra Siddham, according to the one-year system, you cannot borrow things which you cannot borrow a word which has come later. And it has been somehow, in a very subtle way, has been said, indicated before. And thus you must borrow it. And therefore, meditate on what? Tatra sthito yatno abhyasa. You meditate, you focus, you allow your mind to be stable, like let's say, focused on that what has not been said. It is said only in Sutra, what you call Chadal Vidhala, Bhyam Sutra 34, 35, 36, and then some other options are given. The tradition I come from, and these masters knows about me very clearly. In fact, even Ishwar Pranidhana, why is not a vikalpa, is not an option. The reason is how, if it is va, it should be va. No, it's not. The kind of va is interpreted as quote. In their language, absolutely not. What is this? Kvachit pravritti, kvachita pravritti, kvachit vibhasha, kvachit anyadeva. Vidher vidhanam bahudha samikcha chaturvidham bahulakam vadanti. Va is interpreted in 4 different manners according to Pandit system. Kvachit pravritti, somewhere this option is pravritti applicable. Kvachit apravritti, somewhere it's not applicable at all as a vibhasha, as an option. Kvachit pravritti, kvachita pravritti, kvachit vibhasha. Somewhere it is, yes, vibhasha. It's dual meaning, dual application. And kvachitanya deva, somewhere it's totally different. Why? Vidher vidhanam bahudha samiccha. By looking at the design of the nature, this is what the sages, the masters have said about vibhasha. So this is not an option. The thing is, we talk about different application of, let's say, object for our meditation. A simple law is, as Sutra 140, I have only 1 minute, so please. No? The simple law is, tatastha taranjanata samapatti. Anything you meditate on, the quality of the object of your meditation and the mind, when mental absorption takes place in that object, it starts taking on the qualities and characteristics and attributes of that particular object. By meditating on donkey, we can get donkey samapatti. By meditating on Ishvara, we will have Ishvara samapatti. Ishvara is self-luminous, Purus Vishesha Ishvara. Okay? And therefore, if we want to achieve freedom from our pleasures, karmas, karmashayas, karma vipaka, etc., who else is there to meditate on? Who else is that clear, that calm, that tranquil, that luminous, that kind, that nirashya sarva ki bijam, other than Ishvara? My point is here that it is Ishvara. What kind of Ishvara? That's totally different. How, if Patanjali was just like us, then yes, this question can evolve, that is this Ishvara, that Ishvara, Krishna, Radha, Shiva, etc. But Patanjali is a little bit more than what we know, no? Or his knowledge and our knowledge is definitely different. So it is in that respect, I will stop here and I'll do myself like the question and answer. And this is
thank you
great.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions? Yes. So we go off for now, but I'll.
So I'm going to ask you So I'm going to ask you a question back again then. What does Ishvara mean to you? Is it the Ishopanishad Ishvara? Or does it mean Krishna? Does it mean... Because the Ishopanishad Ishvara is a little different than what the definition... Dr. Brown.
When Krishna says that Sarvasya Chaham Pratisannidishto Matta Smritir Jnana Mahohanancha Vedasya Sarva Ilahamiyo Dityo Vedanta Vid Ved At that time, Krishna is not referring to himself as son of Vasudeva or Draupadi, and even if he is referring, he is definitely that standpoint. It's that reality which resides in each of our heart, and the heart that existed even before the body was created, that in fact that which is the creator of our heart and everything that goes with it. And it is that Ishvara who was there and who is there, who wakes us up from the timeless slumber of death and breathes his own life. That's what prayer I just really first time I did at the beginning. That Yonta Pravishimavach Viman Prasuttam. That reality, that force which is making you to speak, that reality which is inside you, helping you, giving you the strength and energy and the idea to put forth, to articulate your question, the reality that which is giving me the guidance to answer you, that reality which even doesn't care, doesn't need for, which is not in need of prayer, that when we are dead, we even don't have the capacity, we don't have the awareness to pray, oh Lord, please lift me from this death and put me on the path of Bhoga and Apavarga. At that time, it's sheer Kripa Shakti, Anugrah Shakti. And that's why Bhagavan Kapila in Tattva Samasa very clearly said, Anugraha Sarga. This creation is pure Anugraha. No? So this Anugraha Shakti is Ishwari Shakti, and the Niradishay Aishwari Shakti, Niradishay Aishwari is there in Ishwara, and Satishay Aishwari is in other yogis. That's the only difference. What did I do? No questions. Oh my God.
Okay, let's take one more. We'll take one more question, and then we'll take maybe a 5-minute break after that question, and then we'll reconvene. So let's do one more question, and then
I'm feeling kind of.
question. Where was it? There we go.
Have you ever thought about what happened to you in the context of Theravada Buddhism, sort of the 5 knowledges, or sometimes it's called the progress of insight?
Yes. When I started looking into, later on when I was trying to find the interpretation of my own experience, then I looked into Buddhism as well as Hinduism, many of these, and the process up to this day continues. But however, it concluded, in fact, it was concluded, but still the intellect was trying to find a verification. And especially that great soul who taught me, died soon after he taught me. So, yes, many of these things are discussed in the Pali literature, of course, Prakrit literature, Jain Mahatma. Everything concludes in one thing, that is, Vishesha Darshana Atma Bhava Bhavana Nivritti. That is Yoga Sutra chapter 4. Once somehow you come to realize, not even a full realization or full seeing of the Purusha Vishesha Ishvara, but even just the idea that you had a glimpse of it. Then Vishesha Darshana Atma Bhava Bhavana Nivritti. That when that realization came, that there is Purusha Vishesha Ishvara, and it is always with me, all around me. Before I was born, after I died, and not only with me, but rather with everybody, the entire creation. And Sada Gyata Chitta Vritteha, to that higher reality, all the Chitta Vrittis are fully known to him. As soon as this realization came, my own desire, Goham, Putras, it just got finished. I have no interest even in knowing, what I was and what I would be. It's totally irrelevant. You do all this sadhana, fine. You feel that yes, you can lift your consciousness through the pranayama, go here, on your sahasrara, you will leave your body this way. But you are making all these plans, you got into accident, and 3 seconds time you are dead. At that time, who else is going? Who else other than Purusha Vishesha Ishvara is going to accompany you? And therefore, this whole idea, Swarg, Narak, this life, that life, it just totally vanishes. That's all. Yes.